Welcome back, guys. I want to talk to you about property a little bit more. And I've done an episode on it once before, but I want to explain why I've gone into the HMO sector, because there's different strategies in property that you can go into. You can literally buy, let's say rundown buildings, do them up, flip them on. You can buy land, get, planning permission on it and sell it on. You can knock a building down, you can change the use. There's all kinds of different strategies. Myself, I don't buy property to sell on. I've always been taught and told by mentors of mine that selling on property long term isn't the best strategy. It's about holding on to your assets, because that's where you get the power. That's where you get the leverage, and more importantly, you get the cash flow. But I've gone specifically, mostly aggressively into the HMO sector. HMO stands for house or multiple occupation. It's also referred to sometimes as multi-lets. So question is, why have I gone into property and specifically into HMOs? Here is my answer. Number one, I feel property, if you're looking at all the top people, I'm talking about billionaires, multi-millionaires, anyone that is very, very successful, usually they have a large property portfolio. So that reflects, to me, a positive thing, which is if the wealthier do it, if the successful are doing it, therefore I should be doing it, because all you got to do in life is copy what successful people are doing, make it 10% better, and you can achieve the same results, if not more or better. So that's number one. Number two, I feel is a great place to save your money. I feel that it can cushion you against turbulent times. I'm not saying you can't lose money from property. I'm just saying that generally speaking, if you hold an asset long enough, it's going to go back up. Someone said it in the progressive property community once. I think it was a lady called Anne Holton, who's got about 60 properties, I do believe. She's one of the mentors there, a fabulous lady. She said, buying a bad property sometimes is like a bad haircut. If you have a bad haircut, well, at the end of the day, it's going to grow out. It's not going to stay there forever. And bad property deal, eventually, 5 years from now, it will actually sort itself out. It will grow and it will become more valuable, providing that you're looking after it. So it's a good place to put your money. Thirdly, HMOs. Why have I gone into that? Well, number one reason is that these properties create a lot more cash flow. So if you're getting 5, 6, 7 tenants in these properties, opposed to a family or just to one professional person, you can start making 2-3 times the amount of cash flow, which means more money for your business, more money for you. The more money you have, the more money you can reinvest, the more money you can put into marketing, advertisement, into enhancing your product, give value to your clients or customers. The more money you can donate or give away to charities, things of that nature. Money is, as Rob Moore said, is the root of all evil as well as all positivity. It just enhances your beliefs and who you are as a person. If you are a good person, you can be a better good person, more enhanced. If you're a bad person, then you've got more money to do bad things with. So money is a neutral kind of medium. So it's not bad, it's not good. It kind of is. It can sort out really, really big problems, and it can also create problems. So you're going to make more cash flow. The next thing is, when you're adding more rooms to a house and you're complying with regulation, you need to look at the local authorities' wants and needs and laws or guidelines inside that local area. Each local area will have a different policy, so make sure you get very well versed and well read and educated or mentored in this sector and this area. But when you add more rooms, and what I specifically do with my team is at Tungsten Management Group, which is our property company, is we add more bathrooms. We add en suites to each and every single room. So because we're going for a professional demographic, we rarely go after students. We rarely go after anyone on benefits. I'm not knocking any of those strategies or even that demographic. It's just that I feel a bit more aligned with the professional demographic, and I like to cater for those, because I ask myself the question, if I were to go into one of my own rooms, would I feel comfortable? Would I feel like it's a home? And the answer has to be yes. Otherwise, I do not allow a tenant to go in there. So we add value by putting in en suites. when you add value in that way, so you upgrade the windows, you add more bathrooms, you upgrade cosmetically the bathrooms or kitchens, therefore when a valuer comes round, you know, it might have gone up by 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 pounds, which therefore you can refinance the property, you can get other loans on it. It becomes a very lucrative business if you've got a strategy that works in regards to enhancing its value. On that note, the next point is when you get a licensed HMO, rather than just a retail lender like a high street bank lending you the money on the bricks and mortar point of view, if you go to a commercial lender, they will lend you the money on the bricks and mortar, the actual property itself, the asset, but most importantly, the business inside that asset, which is you've got tenancy agreements, you've got contract with all these tenants, there's cash flow coming in, so they actually give you a loan also above and beyond the property itself. They're going to lend you money based upon the amount of tenants, like a mini hotel almost, coming into your business, which may give you a bit more leverage, may give you a lot more answers, and it may become something that gives you a lot more options later on, where you can go and buy some more assets and, you know, enhance or increase your business quicker. I also had a call with my mentor, a guy called Steve Mitchell and a guy called Jamie Medill, and they told me last week, which I still need to just double check I heard it right, that if you buy a property without a mortgage or with a high street mortgage, then usually you have to wait roughly about 6 months before you can refinance. This law came in a few years ago, I think after the credit crunch, roughly about 2007, 2008. I need to double check that though, to stop, I believe, money laundering and things of that nature, which, you know, totally makes sense. However, if you change the use of that building from a, let's say, a residential dwelling into a commercial unit, into like a business, then I believe you can actually refinance quicker via commercial loan. So that is something I would need to double check, but I'm pretty sure that that's what my mentors told me last week, which is quite exciting because it gives you a new lease of life. It's a new kind of strategy where you can release the money quicker, and then you can look at the next project rather than waiting 6 months for that time period to go past and then to refinance as well. Also, here's another point. I've been told, and I've heard people coin the phrase a few times, that HMOs are recession proof. Now, what does that mean? Well, think about it. If you got a recession, let's say we take the UK, one of the strongest economies in the world, but every so often, every 10, 12, 15 years roughly, history repeats itself and we go into recession. Property does get hit. Look at the last 2007, 2008, 2009 crash. Pretty much every property from London to up north or even Scotland actually went on the decline. Now, if you're a property owner like myself and your strategy isn't to flip, then it doesn't really matter too much. I mean, people get so worried about property prices going down, but at the end of the day, it's only a loss when you sell at a loss. If you retain the property and just hold out for the long term, then it's gonna come back up 9 times out of 10, or let's say 100% actually, because history again repeats itself. Property prices always come back up. So property prices may go down, they also will go up over the long term. And if you're looking at 10, 20, 30 years, they usually double every 10, 12 years roughly. I'm not saying that's a guarantee everywhere around the country, but in London, in the suburbs, that's usually what happens. So the reason why some people coin the phrase that HMOs are recession proof is because the £20 million houses, £10 million houses, £5 million houses, £1 million houses in London, Mayfair, Knightsbridge, or in the suburbs of London, the demographic who are buying those are, of course, a lot smaller group, and they probably won't be buying in a downturn because they're a little bit worried about how much money they could potentially lose. And the tenants are not going to really want to rent these accommodations at £10,000-20,000 a week or a month sometimes. They're going to be a little bit more careful, a little bit more prudent, a little bit more shrewd about everything, and they're going to, you know, make sure they're looking after their finances. They're going to be a little bit more careful. So some people, rather than renting a flat where they're going to take it on their own, they're going to want to rent a room, but they're not just going to want to rent any kind of room. They're going to want to rent a room which is comfortable, done very professionally, got a very professional organisation behind it. Organisation that they know that when they see that logo, they know that the certain people behind it, they're going to feel confident that they're going to get a great service, and most importantly, the room they're going to go into is going to feel like a home. And that's our goal, to make sure that every time they go into these rooms, they feel like a home. Also, do they just want a room where they're going to share the bathroom, and there's like 4 or 5 people into one bathroom, which I personally don't. I wouldn't go into a room like that. They want to have their own ensuite. So they're still going to be paying a bit more than the average room out there, but they're willing to pay an extra £50 more, or maybe even £100 more, because they're going to get that comfort, they're going to get that independence, and most importantly, they're going to get that quality where they feel like it's a home. So our strategy, which is to hold forever, and also to cash flow, and also to get a professional demographic in there, and the way we do that is by putting on suites, adding value. By adding on suites, you can increase the rent a bit, you can get a better quality tenant, and that tenant's going to want to stay in there longer. Again, it's almost, you can see why people call it a recession-proof strategy. Here's the other thing I really love about HMOs. You start create a culture and a community inside that property. So if you've got 5 or 6 like-minded people that all been vetted and all very, very similar in regards to their outlook on life or their paradigms. Currently, right now in Gillingham, in one of our HMOs, we've got doctors and nurses, because we bought opposite a hospital, a very large hospital. So these people are kind of going to work together. They kind of socialise together, and you know what? We got the satisfaction knowing that these people are one, forming a friendship. Some of them might form a friendship which is beyond that, a long-term partnership. There also could be, which is the third point, business or investment opportunities that can spawn from these HMOs, and basically we create a like-minded, energetic, very positive, very upbeat community inside these HMOs. So it gives us that satisfaction as well. So these are some of the key points why we like the HMO sector. We probably will branch out into other sectors later on, but I think it has an advantage over single lets. I think it also gives you a slight better understanding when it comes down to rules, regulations, plannings, permitted development, added value, etc. It's like the halfway point between a single let, we don't really have to do too much, to maybe doing a commercial conversion or even a development, because you understand a little bit about construction, about changing certain things or usages or getting licenses and things like that of that nature. So that is the reason why we've gone into the HMO sector, because a few people have asked me that on my social media recently. Hope you got value from that. Be happy, never content. My name is Steven Sulley. Follow me on Instagram, sully.steven. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.